I'm an alcoholic and I'm a drug addict. Do not tell my boss.
We won't.
It's certainly not a happy ending by any means. 40 law enforcement personnel actively working the case.
From a missing person to a murder victim, this was a horrific finding that sent shivers down the spine of a close-knit community. Imagine the surprise and concern when Elizabeth Lamont, a happy young lady of 22 years old, failed to return home following her regular shift at a sub shop. What do you think happened to her? Did she vanish with her boyfriend, or was she killed? Well, all these and more would be answered as we venture into this crime story that no one was prepared for his dark confession. Gloversville, New York, a tiny town, was home to Elizabeth, or Allie as she was fondly called. She had a new boyfriend, close friends, and a close-knit family. Allie, on the other hand, was characterized as a vibrant, grounded, and upbeat 22-year-old woman. She had a schedule and was well known for being on time for work. She would leave for her job at the sub shop every day like clockwork, and she would return home after her shift with the same dependability. However, the trend was interrupted on that fateful October day. When Elizabeth failed to return home, her friends and family who were used to her routine began to worry. Elizabeth was a responsible, diligent person who genuinely cared about her loved ones. She was not the kind that will disappear without saying anything. Her abrupt absence was out of character for her, and as the hours stretched into the night, it was frightening. Her family members became quite worried and contacted the police as their concern turned to fear. They expressed their concerns about the abrupt and mysterious disappearance of a young lady who had always been there for them. The cops acted without hesitation, knowing the seriousness of the situation. They were aware that time was of the essence, and that Elizabeth's safety might depend on how quickly they could find her. However, Allie's sister got in touch with the Gloversville police on October 29, 2019. Since Allie hadn't been seen or heard from since October 28th, she questioned the police about whether they had spoken with her sister over the phone or in any other way. No, the cops replied, but they will investigate. The police got another call regarding Allie approximately an hour later. Jenny, her flatmate and friend, got in touch with them this time. Jenny spoke with Officer Chad Simonson after filing a report on missing persons. Jenny informed Officer Simonson that on October 28th, she had driven to the local 9 deli to get Allie phone charger. Allie never replied when Jenny texted her later to inquire whether she would need a ride home from work, feeling incredibly out of the ordinary because Allie never stayed silent for too long. Thus, the following day, October 29th, Jenny went to the deli and inquired of the manager whether he had seen Allie. But William, Allie's new boyfriend, also told Officer Simonson that he hadn't heard from Allie. William had ventured out to look for Allie, but she was nowhere to be seen. For Allie, a bolo, be on the lookout, was issued. Officer Simonson stated that the likelihood of finding Allie alive was decreasing, and that he simply had a gut feeling that this wasn't a normal missing person case. However, the moment Allie Lamont was reported missing, the police took immediate action and began a thorough investigation to find Allie. Each minute was crucial, as there was a race against the clock. There weren't many hints at first, and each lead seemed to vanish as soon as it surfaced. Where Allie worked, at the sub shop, there was little indication of conflict. Her phone and purse were gone, and her car remained parked in front. These were warning indications of an abrupt and unplanned departure. The cops were unrelenting in their search for the truth, even in the absence of hard proof. Tracing Allie's movements from the minute she left her job shift, they started to put the puzzle of her last known moves together. Nevertheless, biometric footprints, eyewitness reports, and surveillance footage were all carefully examined in the interim. Every bit of information held the potential to reveal the enigma behind her disappearance. Jenny spoke with the police once more on October 30th. They discovered that Allie had dated Tyler for almost 4 years and that the two of them had some domestic problems. Wait a minute. Do you think Tyler may have abducted Allie before escaping? We'll never know for sure, so let's investigate this more. The cops proceeded to Tyler's workplace, Local 9, to talk with the management while they waited for him to respond. The deli was still open for business, but there was a notice on the door that said, "Under renovations." There were 2 workers in the restaurant's back when the police got there. James Duffy, the manager, had a girlfriend who worked there. According to James's girlfriend, he had closed on October 28th, the day Ali vanished and wasn't working that day. That's suspicious, right? Now, before we delve further into this, please subscribe to our channel, Unsolved Files, where we share amazing, gripping, and bizarre real crime stories. You can like, share, and comment on this video. Tell us the next mystery you would like to see. Let's continue. James would be available at 10 a.m. the next morning, James' girlfriend to the police. She gave the authorities the phone number of the property's owner, Georgios Kakavelos, as well as James's. When the police called, Georgios and James, they didn't answer. Having said that, the New York State Police were enlisted to help with the inquiry. In their small community, Ali's friends and relatives were putting up flyers for missing people and sharing information on social media. After a while, Tyler called the police. He acknowledged that he had domestic problems with Ali. He claimed that when Ali arrived at his flat, furious and accusing him of cheating on her, they ended their relationship. Also, the cops spoke with Georgios and James when they returned to the deli a second time. Although James was frequently present more than Georgios was, he was identified as a drug and alcohol addict.
I'm an alcoholic and I'm a drug addict. Do not tell my boss. We won't.
However, at the police station, the two men were subjected to additional questioning. James was too drunk to be of any assistance. Georgios sought to assist Ali and told the police that he was worried about her. He asserted that Ali had told him she intended to end her life and that he was aware of her mistreatment. The police questioned Georgios about what James would have done to harm Ali. James had the balls to do something like this, in Georgios' opinion. Georgios consented to let them examine his phone, but he started to worry a lot about what they might discover. The authorities took note of the 36-minute phone conversation that James and Georgios had in the days following Ali's disappearance. After questioning, the police station was opened for the departure of both guys. However, the investigation required a lot of work and many sleepless nights. In pursuit of the extraordinary, the one clue that would lead them to Al Yizbeth will be the police sifting through countless pieces of data. The entire community was anxiously awaiting word, anticipating the worst, but holding out hope for the best. The desire to safely return Al Yizbeth home kept the police from wavering in their resolve. Even though they knew the grim statistics and that their chances of finding Ali alive were dwindling by the hour, they continued to hold out hope and refused to allow pessimism to interfere with their judgment or stop them from moving forward. They had no idea that their worst nightmares were going to come true. After 3 days of searching, the probe took a sinister turn. The peaceful atmosphere of Johnstown, New York, where children play in the yards and neighbors smile warmly at one another, was destroyed. The 22-year-old Ali Yizbeth Lamont disappeared during her shift at a local sub shop, and her disappearance prompted an urgent search that resulted in a terrifying finding that chilled this close-knit town. Yeah, that's right. A dark truth is about to be unfolded. Just stick to the end to find out what happened to Ali Yizbeth Lamont. Now here is the shocking discovery. A shallow grave was discovered around 35 miles from Ali Yizbeth's last known location, in a place that appeared to be unaffected by the evils of the outside world. Investigators found Ali Yizbeth's remains in that isolated region of the planet. The scene was devastating, as well as disgusting. The young lady had been cruelly bludgeoned to death, despite her boundless enthusiasm for life and her aspirations for a great future. To those involved, the realization was a kick in the gut. Al Yizbeth had become more than just a missing person. She had been murdered. It was startling to see how violent the crime was and how much violence there was to take her life. Her potential, her goals, her dreams, all of them were mercilessly extinguished with a baseball bat. The sight of that swallow grave, the last resting place of a young woman snatched from this life with such desperation, served as a sobering reminder of the evil that exists beneath the surface of each of our daily lives. The detectives were shaken, despite having seen the darkest sides of humanity for years and becoming hardened. They had anticipated a different course of events, one in which Ali would be discovered unharmed. But instead, they were confronted with a vicious murder, a life stolen far too soon, and a mysterious perpetrator. The desperate search became a quest for justice for Al Yizbeth, whose promising young life had been cruelly taken from her. This horrific finding was the turning point for the investigation's pivot, which turned the case of the missing individual into a murder investigation. The hunt for Al Yizbeth was over, but the fight for justice was far from over. The case took on a somber new focus when the hunt for Al Yizbeth evolved into a hunt for her killer. The authorities were now searching for a murderer rather than a missing person. Who did she interact with before her shift at the sub shop ended that day? Did anyone see her after that time? Was there anyone in her life who had a motive to harm her? The list of possible suspects was reduced in large part because of the responses to these questions. However, as they dug further into the inquiry, a disturbing picture started to emerge. The leads led them to someone who was a regular part of Allie's life. I mean, someone she knew, someone she worked with, and someone she trusted, rather than to a stranger or an acquaintance. The realization was startling and served as a clear warning that evil frequently lurks in the most unexpected places. The reality was more relatable than anyone could have anticipated. There is always a motivation, a reason why someone would carry out such a horrible deed behind every crime. In search of answers and to get who committed such horrible crime, law enforcement unexpectedly paid a visit to James's house. He had matured and consented to visit the station. James said he just wanted his friend back when speaking with the police. Additionally, he mentioned that Allie was a hard worker and that it would be difficult to find a replacement for her.
Not only was she my friend, she was a fucking hellfire worker that I can never replace.
The police approached James and informed him that they believed he was hiding something. Then James chuckled evilly, and his demeanor altered. "You don't even know," he said to the police. James mentioned that Georgios had devised a scheme. He claimed that he believed Allie would ruin his life by reporting him for fraud. James claimed that Georgios had given him $500 in exchange for using a variety of drugs to give him the guts to kill Allie. James reported that Allie was instructed to empty the bags of soda syrup in the rear sink and do the dishes. James approached Allie from behind while she was doing that, and he struck her in the head with a bat. James claimed that Georgios entered and placed a sack over Allie's head, strangling her. According to James, Georgios instructed him to get a sledgehammer. Allie continued to twitch, so they each gave her a blow to the head before strangling her once again. James and Georgios had spread the soda syrup all over the floor, hoping to mop up the blood as well. Georgios went to Walmart to obtain additional cleaning materials, and he also bought a magazine and a candy bar. Allie's body was placed in the back of Georgios' Volkswagen and buried close to the Malta highway. James reported that even though Georgios kept hurling money at him to dig the tomb, he was quite intoxicated that evening. To hide her, they covered her with grass and fertilizer. After that, they drove all over, throwing away other stuff like the baseball bat and clean supplies. James consented to accompany the police on a trip to demonstrate the location of the evidence's disposal. The baseball bat was discovered in a pond, and a few miles down the same road, a trash bag with cleaning goods was discovered. Allie's body was eventually found using cadaver dogs in a drone. James Duffy was taken into custody. After speaking with the authorities once more, Georgios was also taken into custody at the police station. Nevertheless, request was made for James Duffy to provide testimony in opposition to Georgios. Although initially opposed, he ultimately consented. After entering a plea of admitting to second-degree homicide, he was subsequently handed a life sentence. The trial of Georgios Kakavelos commenced on May 12, 2021. The defense claimed that Georgios owed more than $700,000. Now, going back to September 10, 2019, an FBI agent paid an unexpected visit to the deli. In the presence of other employees, it was disclosed that Georgios had failed to remit the amounts owed to them. Georgios received correspondence from the Department of Labor requesting access to his payroll information over the subsequent weeks. Elizabeth Lamont's co-workers, who were involved in illegal activity within the sub-shop's boundaries, were the ones who killed her. They were stealing money, breaking the law, and they were terrified when Elizabeth found out about their plot. Instead of facing the consequences of their conduct and coming clean, they opted to silence Elizabeth permanently, which was a horrific decision. Their motivation was only a desperate, cowardly attempt to conceal their wrongdoings. It was neither the result of a personal grudge against Allie nor a crime of passion. Georgios Kakavelos was the target of a state labor complaint brought by Lamont, who was preparing to relocate his faltering company to Saratoga Springs. She also intended to voice her concerns to Kakavelos' wife, the deli's legal owner. Lamont also intended to call Kakavelos an unworthy boss on social media. The defense of Georgios laid all the responsibility on James. Georgios even gave a testimony in his own right. He said he was under duress when he assisted James in clearing the scene and getting rid of the evidence, having walked in on James killing Allie. On the other hand, the Walmart surveillance film showed Georgios purchasing chocolates, cleaning products, and a magazine. James did, however, testify regarding their plans to murder Allie, their strategy for tidying up the deli, and their driving routes for getting rid of evidence. Georgios was found guilty of first-degree murder on June 17, 2021. He received a life sentence without the chance of release. I and her father will forever be devastated and enraged by the fact that you were with our daughter when she was fighting for her life and took her last breath. Allie's mother, Krista, said before Georgios' sentence, It's obvious that Georgios and James are both wicked. Georgios was likewise avaricious, prioritizing money over people's lives. Georgios tricked James, but he also consented to use narcotics and endanger an innocent person's life. They both claimed to care about Allie, but it was clear they didn't. It's more than terrible for Allie's family, and she deserves to be here today. Because Elizabeth knew too much, her life was cruelly taken from her. She was an innocent person entangled in a web of treachery and greed. It serves as a terrifying reminder that sometimes the most commonplace environments can conceal the most remarkable secrets. A sub shop, a popular spot for fast bites, served as the setting for a tragic event that shocked the neighborhood and devastated a family. The killing of Elizabeth was not only a crime against her, it was also a great betrayal of innocence, trust, and ultimately, the very core of mankind. This crime's unexpected and extremely unsettling motivation served as a sobering reminder of the extent to which people will go to keep their secrets hidden. But what are your thoughts about this tragic story? Let us know in the comment section below. Have you heard of Aisling Murphy? Check out our previous video to learn what happened to her. A crime that shattered Ireland, the harrowing case of Aisling Murphy.